Regular people are taking their knowledge and content, packaging it up in an online course, and they're making a living doing it. But not everyone is successful with online courses. There's a right way and there's a wrong way, and I'm here to help course creators actually succeed with online courses. Hi, I'm Jacques Hopkins, and this is the Online Course Show. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Online Course Show. I'm your host, Jacques Hopkins, and this is a show where we talk about online courses and online business and memberships and funnels and offers and really just how to make money and make an impact and have freedom in your life and business with an online business that probably includes an online course. My glass of iced coffee that I have here is empty, and that's because I've been sipping it during a fantastic conversation with Stephen Foust, who you're going to hear from shortly. Stephen is making a living now from teaching NCOs, that's non-commissioned officers in the Army, to get promoted. And look, he'll readily admit this is not the thing that he is most passionate about in the world, just like I admit here to you that my main online course, which is teaching piano, that today is not the thing that I'm most passionate about, but I do love helping other people learn piano all over the world and making money from that thing. And now I'm really passionate about this, and that kind of allowed me to do this here, talking with you on this podcast. So shortly, you're going to hear the conversation between myself and Stephen. You're going to hear a lot about his backstory and the things that led to him making money from a membership that helps these NCOs to get the promotions. Stephen is a father of 6. He lives in Arizona. He's actually a part of my coaching program, so I know him kind of well, but I never got to really dive deep into his backstory like I did in this conversation. So a lot of really, really cool information, hearing about how he got to this point and how he was able to succeed with a membership. And when you hear membership, you probably think, okay, the pro is we're making money from it every single month. The con is it's probably more work on an ongoing basis. But Stephen has figured out a way to create an effective membership that doesn't suck up a lot of his time. So he has a lot of great nuggets and tools that he's using to make it to where he doesn't have to spend a lot of time inside of his membership. So if you want to hear a story of somebody in the trenches in a niche you probably hadn't heard of before, this is your episode. This episode is for you. Before we get into the full conversation, let me tell you about Bonjoro. Bonjoro is one of my go-to tools in my tech stack. It doesn't cost very much each month. I've used it for probably 8 years now. Every time somebody signs up for my piano course or my OCG coaching program, they'll get a personal video message from me, the creator, just welcoming them in, making sure they know that me and my team are there for them if they need anything on along the way. And it sets that relationship off on just such an amazing footing, because they just paid me money through the internet. They're getting access to, pre-recorded content and whatnot. And I can break through that just automated internet wall and say, hey, what's up? I'm a real person. I call them out by name, welcome them. And that is something I'm still doing to this day. And it's something I highly recommend to you as well. Like I said, our guest today, Stephen, uses it for the exact same purpose as well, has been doing it a while. And you'll hear him talk about how much he likes Bonjoro as well. And so through the link I'm about to give you, you can get a free trial, try it out for yourself. And then if you decide to upgrade to a paid version of the software, which just allows you to use your own branding and maybe send a few more Bonjoros each month, because they do have a free plan you can stay on, you will get 20% off for life if you use this link. So head to bonjoro.com/OCG. That's spelled BONJORO.com/OCG to take advantage of that offer. So without further ado, here's that full conversation between myself and Stephen Foust. Hi, Stephen. Welcome to the Online Course Show.
What's going on, Jack? Glad to be here.
So look, I'll be honest with you. Sometimes with these interviews, it's the first time I'm meeting somebody. And we've talked dozens and dozens of times at this point, just not on this medium. So the way I want to start this is because I know a lot about kind of your current situation and where you're trying to go. I've never heard the details of the backstory. So that's certainly where I want to start. Give me the story in however much detail you want that led to you wanting to get into online business and make courses and memberships.
Yeah, man. So just rewinding, let's go way back. I was in the Army for 12 and a half years on active duty from 85 to 98. I got off of active duty. I stayed in the reserves for 8 years and retired from the Army Reserve in 2005. And then I just did, what a lot of people do. I went and got a job and did corporate jobs and got leadership jobs and started to kind of lean into that. And then before I knew it, I was kind of all the way up to my nose in corporate bureaucracy and things like that. And it kind of snuck up on me over, a number of years. But I realized probably in, 2010 or so that, man, this isn't the life that I want. So I started to think, how can I do this entrepreneur stuff? That was, 2010-ish. Things were starting to kind of take off, and I'm thinking, what can I go do? So really, I didn't do a whole lot for the next number of years other than just dream about what's possible. But I just knew from my corporate day job that I had, I was a vice president, I was an executive in aerospace manufacturing companies, and I worked for big companies like Honeywell and General Electric. And I know you were an engineer, and I was in aerospace manufacturing, so I worked with a lot of engineers. I'm not an engineer by training, but I can certainly appreciate the skill level of those guys and ladies out there. But I just realized that, man, this isn't the life I want, but I didn't know where and how to pivot. And I started dreaming first and realizing that I did have these proverbial golden handcuffs on, that I was making really good money. I had a good enough life, and, things were taken care of, but I was working crazy hours, weekends. My health was declining. I was overweight, and I just knew that at some point in my life, something had to change. But that's kind of what took me up through the decisions I started to really make and get more intentional about.
You mentioned you started dreaming. What did those dreams look like?
Dreams of working on my own terms. I think that's the biggest, broadest way for me to explain it is I knew that as long as I worked for somebody else, that I would always have caps, even though I had a great income, a great life, a great job, my 2 to 3% raises per year, a decent bonus, kind of the corporate, what a lot of people out there are going through. And I just realized that was not going to get me the lifestyle that I wanted. And it wasn't as much of the money as much as it was of the freedom, because I have 6 kids, Jock. I've been married a couple times. They're all grown except for 2. Well, actually, my son today, as we record this, is moving into his dorm in college. So, yeah, he's moving in today, and then I have a 10th grader at home, and all my other kids are grown adults, and I missed so much. I just missed so much. I miss all of the sports. I miss all of the school stuff. I missed all of that because I was busy. And a lot of this was my mindset. No, I have to be there. I have to be at work. I have to do it. If I don't do it, I'm not going to be successful. And I was really driven to climb a ladder that at some point I said, I don't want to climb another rung on that ladder, because this ladder is not getting me to the right roof that I want to go to, right? And I just really had this epiphany and it wasn't overnight; it was over time.
My dreaming was similar, I would say, when I was working as an engineer, as you mentioned. My dream was always like, I don't like having to request for time off, even though I had a fairly flexible job. I felt bad requesting time off. I remember one time a coworker of mine requested off for 3 weeks to go on a European trip with his wife. And I was so jealous, and I was I was almost mad at him, because it turned out to not be a problem. My boss was super cool, and we made it work. But I was like, oh, I could never do that. I could never go to my boss and ask for 3 weeks off. And so I just really wanted that freedom of, when I make a decision to take 3 weeks off, 3 months off, 3 days off, or whatever, I'm the end of that discussion, right? Now I have to put certain things in place now to make that happen, which is fine, but I don't have to go to anybody else for that to happen. And I don't need to feel bad about it either.
Yeah. And that's so true, Jock, because even though in some companies I worked at, I had, the proverbial unlimited vacation. When you're a certain level in some company, you know what unlimited vacation means? You can't have any vacation. Right?
Yeah, it's like, then you'd really feel bad about taking off because you don't want to abuse it, right?
That's exactly right. And I'd have unlimited vacation. I would never go on vacation because I had, quote, too many responsibilities. I had the P&L. I was managing budgets and millions of dollars in revenue. And in the aerospace industry, a lot like most industries, you get upset customers, you're not delivering on time, you have project issues, your products are having issues. And I was on literally hot standby here. My phone I'm showing, I had it on the nightstand, and in my mind, it was always like buzzing and going off, and I'd check it all night long. And I just realized, man, that I'm going to stroke out. I'm going to stroke out and have a heart attack here. And luckily for me, though, my wife, Nadia, is the best partner in this. She just took care of everything with the kids and with school and with events and with sports. And she never complained. She knew that the sacrifices were being made. It created a certain life. And I really appreciate that. But I just knew that couldn't last forever. When I'm 56, I just turned 56 a couple of months ago. And I just knew my dad passed away at 58. And then my brother's had some really poor health, and he's 67 now. He's doing better. But I just knew that, man, I'm on the back nine. I love playing golf. I'm on the back nine. I've made the turn. I got 4 or 5 holes left. And am I going to live these last 4 or 5 holes of life, getting up and going to work at 6 a.m., coming home at 8 p.m., working on weekends, being miserable, getting a good paycheck every other Friday, right? That was nice, good bonuses, but it became not worth it. And I think that has, as we get into kind of what I'm doing today, I think a lot of that is the reason why I do the things the way I do today. I could do more. I could build bigger. I could grow faster. But I think I've really leaned into the lifestyle now because of coming up that way. And I really appreciate an afternoon nap. I really appreciate going for a walk in the middle of the day. I really appreciate not having any meetings or doing anything until after lunch on a lot of days. I really appreciate every day I pick my son up from high school until he starts driving here pretty soon, which is a whole nother set of issues for me. But picking him up every day, I never could do that, man. I just never could. And I know now I know because of people like you and working with you and being in your programs, I know what I can do and what I can achieve. And now it's more of a decision about what do I want to achieve and what kind of life do I want to live. And to me, that is far more important than how many dollars can I stick in my pocket. I need to have enough. And once I have enough, what lifestyle do I want to live? And that, to me, is a much higher priority for me right now.
Well, you're speaking my language with that for sure. I never met corporate Stephen. I've only known you the past couple of years, and you give off the vibe that you're very happy with how your life is. Very happy with how your life is. Yeah. And so
my wife, Jacques, tells me when we run into friends and people maybe who only know the new me, right? She will tell them, you don't know what a different person he is today. And it makes, a good thing is I was like, wow, I can change for the better. And then the other side of me goes, I must have been a miserable person because for her to say that, it just really opens my eyes to remind me of I was not happy. I was not healthy. And it just keeps in check kind of what my life was and what it is and what it still can be. And that's something that I'm really intentional about creating for my wife, myself, my family.
Well, I want to go back to the backstory and pick up where we left off. But keep in mind, there could be plenty of people listening to this that are in the situation you were in. And so I want to hear your particular story, but if you can lace in any lessons and advice for that type of person who's in that situation that you were in, I think that'd be really helpful.
Yeah, man. It's a couple pieces of advice just going into that is I stayed way too long doing what I was, quote, good at doing, what I was getting paid to do. I would have gotten help a lot sooner. I would have found people out there doing the things that I want to do, and I would have leaned into that and got that coaching, got that support faster and earlier. I'm trying to remember when you and I first came across. I started listening to the podcast. I know I was in some of your early programs. I'm guessing, I've heard you ask people this on other podcasts. I know you look it up, but I don't know exactly. I'm guessing it would have been like 2019. And that would be my thought. It was before you were on Kajabi. It was before you were a ClickFunnels guy. You were doing courses and maybe teaching and coaching inside of Facebook and things like that. So, those it's been some time, but that's the big piece of advice. Leave before you're perfectly comfortable, get help sooner, and store. I keep this next to my desk, this squirrel here that I'm holding up. It reminds me how to try to stay focused on the things that are important to me. And one thing that I learned was I knew I wanted to make a pivot. I knew I wanted to get out of the life that I was in, but I knew to do that and to make my wife much more comfortable with that decision, I needed to store some nuts up. And I started to store nuts. I would take my bonus. I would stock it away. We got to a point when I left my job at the end of January in 2022, when I left my full-time corporate job, we had about 18 to 24 months of income saved up that if we kind of went scorched earth, we could probably make that last 3 years. Right. So I always knew, and if you're out there and you're in a corporate job and you're wanting to take a chance and you're wanting to do something to better your life and better your family, just think about this. Okay. Store some nuts up for the future as much as you can. And you can always go get a job. You can my wife says, you know what, if this doesn't work out, you can go get a job. I didn't magically become dumb overnight. I could go get another job. And, I never want to do that. I can promise you.
That's so funny. That's what I've always said too. Like if I wouldn't have had, my wife and I didn't build up some savings to live very frugally, for us, it was up to 12 months to live very, very frugally for this whole thing to not work out. But once again, like you said, like I knew I could always go get a job, like somewhere, somehow, right? And not everybody has like multiple degrees, but I feel like those are less and less important as every day passes. So I happen to have a couple of degrees that I figured I could lean on, plus 8 years of experience as an engineer. Fortunately, I never had to cash that in. But the worst case scenario is you burn through some savings and you go back to work. Best case scenario is a level 10 life.
Yeah.
So
that's right. And I never really had to dive into the savings, right? It was there. But one of the downsides of having a good corporate job, even though you may be miserable, is you're comfortable. You can end up very comfortable. And through that, it can cause you to not lean forward enough because you have this comfortable thing that you're in the midst of. So how aggressive are you? How intentional are you about pivoting? How fast do you decide to pivot? I didn't do it nearly as fast and intentional enough because I was comfortable and I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. So I was dabbling. I did a lot of dabbling. I listened to a lot of podcasts. I followed a lot of people. I tried, little things. Oh, I wonder if I could figure that out. I wonder if I could figure this out. And it just took me some iterations of going through that to figure out. Ultimately, it was through that lens of, is this something that excites me? Let me try it. That doesn't excite me. Is this something that excites me? Let me try it. Okay, maybe a little bit. Let me try something else. And then as that began to get traction, that helped me be more decisive in my timing of when to leave my job. So that really helped.
Yeah, I certainly burned through a majority of my savings. I did have to tap into the nuts that we had saved. So while I have it up, I did look it up just for the record. You first joined my email list in February of 2020, so right before COVID. Okay. And I'm looking at the email address, and I'm guessing that's like the corporation you were working for. I won't say it here on air, but it's Steven at, and then it looks like probably where you were working was the email you opted in for. And at the time I had the offer of like the free course when you bought that book, the ClickFunnels book through my affiliate program. So you did that the next day, it looks like. And we've been in pretty close contact since. So appreciate all your support over the past 3+ years. But you said that for you, that you didn't really have to tap into the savings a whole lot. So you found success pretty quickly with your own stuff. And let me back up one step further than that as well. Like, how did you even know that there was an alternate path, right? A lot of people don't realize that there's another path. There's like the online business world kind of exists. And that's that is a reasonable path to take outside of a normal 9-to-5 job.
Yeah. Let me caveat the tapping into savings. I didn't tap into the nuts that I stored up, but right when I left, I got a large bonus. Okay. So I got a large bonus. It was a 6-figure bonus. And that's some nuts right there. That's pretty good. Yeah. But that didn't go into the nuts that were already stored.
Okay.
It kind of was the big thing that allowed me the runway to now figure things out. Right. Which was huge. I know everyone doesn't have that opportunity, but you just got to figure out a different path maybe. But it was helpful to me. And I realized I was making enough, right? When I left my job, I was making $4,000 or $5,000 a month. And
from the side hustle.
Yeah. From kind of multiple things, right? Doing multiple things. And it was enough to make me see what was possible, and knowing that if I focused in on it more intentionally, I could grow that. And then having kind of a little bit of a runway, I felt really comfortable to do that. So I did what a lot of people do. I built some things up. I made a little bit of money to know that I could do it. I made the transition, and then kind of really cut back my lifestyle on some of the frivolous things that I was doing, maybe just spending money, going out to eat a bunch, doing a lot of things that was just easy to cut out, that didn't really change a lot about the quality of our life, but it changed about how much of our disposable income was going out. So that was really kind of how I weathered that storm. But I was very intentional. I knew before I left by about a year that I was going to leave. I didn't know what day I was going to leave. I didn't know what that would look like exactly, but I knew I was kind of near the end. And I actually told my boss at the time, the CEO of the company I work for, kind of my intentions. I told him, this is the last job I'm going to have. Right. And I was very open with him, and he appreciated that. And he was actually kind of interested in kind of side hustles and things like that just himself. And I just told him, I said, we kind of fixed the business. We got things cleaned up. We got things back on track, and I'm going to go at some point. I don't know when. I was kind of looking at it, I might retire. I might do something like that. I wasn't fully transparent, I guess, because of a little bit of fear, obviously. But I did make it known that I did have bigger aspirations in my life, and I was looking to do something. I just didn't know the timing at that point.
So let's get into some of the specifics of what you started creating, how you started generating your own money with these side hustles.
Yeah. So the biggest decision I made back in, I think it was about the time I would have joined your email list. This would have been in early 2020. I knew that I wanted to initially, kind of like you teach, I wanted to do a course. I wanted to do something that I could do passive. I wanted to build something. So I started a website. It doesn't exist anymore. It's called armypromotionpoint.com. It's probably on the Wayback Machine, but I started that very organically, bought the domain, and said, let me see if I can go out and teach other people in the Army. Because one of the things that I did in the military, and this is going way back into the late 80s, early 90s, was I was always good at getting promoted fast. I was just something I was good at. I was kind of a guy that would lean into things. I would figure things out. I'd roll up my sleeves. I would dive in, analyze, kind of figure it out. And then I didn't really have leaders that I worked for at the time that were really interested in my career. They weren't as interested in helping me out. They weren't as interested in giving me advice and counseling and mentorship and things. So I said, well, I don't know how passionate I am about the Army and this stuff, but I know I'm really good at it. So back in, I don't have it right here. It's on my bookshelf back there. But back in the 90s, back in 1995, I wrote this little book. It's called PowerPoints. This is before I thought about kind of the Microsoft app, but PowerPoints, Mastering the Army Promotion Point System. They actually have used one still on Amazon. It's been out of print for years, but I sold that in a military bookstore and things around the world through a distributor. I made like 50 cents a copy. I made hardly anything on it, but it was a way that I could go help people, and people started to get help with getting promoted faster. So I had that out for about 10 years, and that thing finally just phased out. It went out of it aged out with the content. It wasn't as valid anymore. But I looked back at that part of my life and said, well, I was really good at that. I wrote a little book that helped a lot of people. I wonder if I can lean into that. So I started a little website, armypromotionpoint.com, started to give people help and support with promotion points. I did the exact thing that you would tell others, and I tell others now not to do. Go build a course, and then obviously people are going to buy it. Didn't happen. I think I sold 5 copies of it for $197. And so I built this massive course thinking that, man, obviously this is going to make me rich. And it made me like a few sales, which I was grateful for. But that led me to think, okay, what else can I do to lean more into this kind of topic and figure out a way to help people differently? So that's kind of how I got into that niche. But then what happened later in 2020 is I created a relationship through my course that I built, that I sold 5 copies of, with a guy who ranked #1 in Google for a lot of the keywords that I was tracking and targeting, which was Army cutoff scores.
So real quick, before we get into that, because it sounds like this is going to a really positive place by forming this relationship, but some people will put something out there and not sell any. You sold 5, you made $1,000 from this. In fact, you mentioned the Wayback Machine. I have it up right now. I see a beautiful page, probably a Kajabi page here, that used to be armypromotionpoint.com. You sold 5 courses. Like, where did you find those people?
I found those people just through this guy. So this guy, his name, I don't remember his name, but he was a medic. He was out of the Army. He lived in Panama going through medical school. And what I did like what a lot of people do. I went on Google and started looking at keywords that would be in my niche, in my demographic. And this guy kept coming up, this cutoffscores.com, NCOsupport.com. They were ranking really high. And I'm like, I don't know, let me reach out and let me try to find this guy. So went on his website, found a contact button, reached out to him. He finally responded to me, and I said, hey, man, I built this little course. It's about stuff that you have websites about. How about we do like a 50-50? I'll sell a course. I'll give you 50%. I'm just trying to figure out how to sell this stuff. And he was pivoted, not really doing that anymore. Still had the websites getting ad revenue. And he said, yeah, sure. So he put some links up on his site. I started to get emails. And then I sold those 5 courses through that relationship with him.
Okay. So when you first built the course, you didn't really have too many people to sell it to. And it wasn't until you met this guy that you actually made the 5 sales.
That's correct. So I made it with his help and his posting those links. And then, that was going, 5 sales worth of okay. And I was starting to get at least a few emails. But he reached back out to me a few months after that, because we had kind of struck a friendship up and this little bit of relationship. And he said, hey, man, I'm in med school. I really don't want to do this anymore. I could use the money. You want to buy my website? I'm like, man, really? Wow, what's that going to look like? So he wanted like 30 grand for a website. We negotiated 15. I had 15 grand. I gave him 15 grand for cutoffscores.com. He then, a month later, wanted more money. So then he sold me a second website for another 15 grand. And then with that website, he gave me a Facebook page that he had built back in 2010, which I still have today. And today it has 208,000 followers on it. And I had about 200,000, 180 when I got it. But it's like a lot of Facebook pages. It's old, it's aged. There's a lot of junk, a lot of trolls, a lot of probably non-ideal people on it. But it still is an asset, and it still is a good. It serves a good purpose where I post lead magnets and offers and things like that. So I made those deals in 2020 and said, okay, so I have this promotion thing I want to do. I've created this course that a few people have bought. My biggest problem that a lot of people face out there is they don't have eyeballs and traffic. So now I purchased 2 websites for a total of 30 grand that now has built-in organic reach that I can now go lean into and go figure out a way to take traffic and this niche in my background and figure out a way to start making money differently. And that's kind of where the story goes and kind of where we're at this point.
So how was he making money from these websites? If he was willing to part with them for, 15 grand per website, was he even making money from these websites?
Yeah, he was not. It's funny. He wasn't selling any products, and he wasn't building an email list. He had no emails. And the only way he monetized was through AdSense, Google AdSense. That was it at the time. And he would get $1,500 a month from Google AdSense. And for him, that was only reason he did it. He updated it once a month with kind of the thing people went to the website for predominantly. And he would collect the Google AdSense revenue from it. And that's the only way he monetized. So I knew, and I still do that today, but I don't use Google AdSense. I use Mediavine and Monumetric for those 2 sites. But I knew that, okay, spend 15 grand for each site. Okay, if it's making $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, I know at some point it's going to pay back, right? It may be slow, maybe whatever, but it's not like unless something happens that I'm not going to eventually make my money back. And then something crazy happened that really concerned me, which I can go into if you want.
I mean, you're teasing it like that. I got to know what the thing is that's crazy that happened.
Yeah, he built these sites back on the Yahoo site builder platform back whenever, 2010, 2012, I think of the 2 years on those websites. And Yahoo came out right after I took those sites over a few months later and announced they were retiring that platform. It was old. It was not mobile friendly. It was just an old, antiquated platform. So I took and had to build I built some WordPress sites, some basic WordPress sites. I moved everything over, knowing that, oh my gosh, what's that going to do to SEO back at the time? How is that going to work? But ultimately, it worked out okay. I really didn't lose any traffic. I just moved everything over kind of in kind of the exact URL structure. I didn't change anything. And I got those moved over just in the nick of time before they cut off that platform. So they gave us kind of a deadline to move our sites off. And we did. I did it myself, which is probably a mistake, but I did it myself because I was pretty anxious and anal and worried that somebody would not take time on it. So I moved it over and I protected the traffic. And at the time, and even today, cutoff scores is getting about 250 to 300,000 page views a month organically. And NCOsupport.com is getting probably 80 to 100,000 page views a month organically. And then the other site that I built on Kajabi is getting probably 50 to 70,000 page views a month organically. And that's how I drive my leads, Jock. I take those 2 WordPress sites. I do very little to them. I update them once a month, and I just get leads that get over to Kajabi that now join my email list for the one thing that has really proven to be a great converting lead magnet for me. And that's how I get about 1,000 email addresses a month organically, is through those 2 websites that I bought for 15 each.
It sounds like you have the traffic piece to this whole thing figured out, but the website we were talking about, armypromotionpoint.com, doesn't exist anymore, right? So what happened next in terms of where did you go in terms of your offers, courses, memberships, and even overall branding? Because that went away. What happened next there?
Yeah. So obviously, I still have those 2 WordPress sites today that just play this core part of my funnel strategy, which is organic traffic push people to my Kajabi site, which is ncoonfire.com, ncoonfire.com, which I started, I don't know, I think it was 2021, late 2020, something like that, when I actually started that domain. And that now sits at the back end of this funnel, which is 2 WordPress sites, give the value that people are showing up for in my niche with the thing that is going to lead them into my products and services. They come over to my Kajabi site, NCO on Fire. They join my email list. Those are the 3 sites that I have. Now I have sitting off to the side here, I have the kind of the junky Facebook page that I got with the 2 WordPress sites that have a couple 100,000 followers on it. I still can get I can push people to my Kajabi site for leads there. And I also post offers there. But then in April of 2021, I started a Facebook group to make it much more engaged and more intentional. And that group I started from scratch. And as a result, I've grown that now to almost 39,000 people in that group. And that one's really highly engaged. I have like 10 moderators in there. So that plays kind of this pivotal role too in these assets. 2 WordPress sites, a Kajabi site, Facebook page, Facebook group. All of those converge into leads on the Kajabi site, about 1,000 a month organically. Then they start to go through the products and services that I offer, which are today predominantly as a membership, right? That's the core product today as a membership. And then from that membership, I have a bunch of courses and content inside that membership that I splinter out and I sell kind of as a one-off offer at times in a funnel. And sometimes I'll run a few Facebook ads. I'm not doing it currently, but I'll run some Facebook ads, or I'll start to promote those offers in different promotions and different months and things like that as well.
So why don't you explain for the audience? Within your brand is the acronym NCO, right? It's now NCOs on Fire. What is an NCO?
Yeah, NCO is a non-commissioned officer. It's think of it in the military structure as kind of the first line supervisor of people. So you have soldiers in the Army, and NCO is now promoted into that first rank of kind of a sergeant, right? A sergeant is now responsible for people, for soldiers, for a team. And then an NCO can go across, I think, 5 different ranks and different levels of NCOs. So from what we call an enlisted 5, E5 sergeant, all the way up to an E9. So E5 to E9, not to get too crazy here, but these are different levels of NCOs. The NCOs that I target are those first 2 levels of NCOs, that first level of NCO that has just become an NCO for the first time and is now leading people and is trying to get promoted faster. And then that next level of NCO, which is now just that next step that is still trying to figure out their career, still trying to figure out how to get promoted faster. Beyond that, those people, those NCOs now become kind of more out of my content, and they're more advanced, and I don't have as much content that's going to help them.
So why the pivot? Because you're still in the, helping Army people get promoted and whatnot. Why the pivot from armypromotionpoint.com to ncoonfire.com?
It's the same thing. It's the content is largely the same. So Army Promotion Point, the domain, served NCOs with the same type of content that NCO on Fire does. It's the same basic content. I just didn't keep the domain the same. I just said, let's come up with something cuter. Let me look at John Lee Dumas. Oh, he's on fire. Let's use that. Why not? I had a whole lot of thoughts back then, but it's too late to change it. It's good enough for now. And the cutoff scores and the NCOsupport.com websites they fit nicely in that niche of helping early career non-commissioned officers figure things out, get promoted faster, and learn how to become better first-line leaders for their soldiers in the Army environment.
Okay. So you sell 5 courses back in the day. You buy websites. You move it along. When did it really start to work for you?
Well, it worked because when it started to work was when I realized I could actually grow an email list. So I learned early on that I needed to have an email list. The gentleman that I bought the sites for didn't have one, wasn't monetizing other than through passive display ads. So I immediately saw the value, and it's like, man, I have a lot of traffic. Let's go create a lead magnet. Let's go create something that people will give me their email address for. And then I don't know exactly what I'm going to do at that point, but at least I have them on a list that I can start to talk to them and start to put offers in front of them and invitations in front of them. So I started to just collect leads, and I was collecting a few a day in the beginning, trying to figure out how to put that in place. And, I joined your program, and I think I bought so many programs out there from different people, but I've learned the value of an email, and I've learned the value of having a good email list. And then I've learned over time the value of, now you have an email list. What do you do with them? How do you put them through a funnel? How do you now give them the next step, the next win, and give them an opportunity to go deeper with you? So that's what I began to figure out in 2020 after I bought these websites.
And so the main offer became the membership, right? So you kind of pivoted from courses to memberships, and if that's the case, can you kind of talk through that process of why you did it that way?
Yeah, in the beginning, I offered what I call a counseling templates package, which was at the time about 100 templates, maybe it was even 50 back at the time. It was 50 templates on a PDF that were pre-filled out, and some video tutorials and training that explain how to do it and how to get there faster. And that would help these NCOs lead their soldiers better and give them the tools that they struggle to have and find on a daily basis. So I had these templates, I put them into a product, I recorded some videos, I started selling that first for like $40, $39. And that's what I did for many months. And that's the only thing I did. And I was selling, again, like I said, I was selling a few $1,000s, just trying to figure things out. And that's when I knew kind of, okay, I can actually make money online. Let me see what else I can do. And that is going to give me now more encouragement and more opportunity to think about leaving my job, right? So that's what I did early on. And then I started to learn about memberships, and me thinking, oh, wow, what's better than somebody buying something from you? Well, maybe they can just pay me every month for something. I started to kind of get the big membership eyes that people love out there, right? Oh, how do I become a Netflix? And it's a lot harder than maybe you might think out there. But I just created I took all this stuff that I built, all of these little products and digital things, and I kind of created some over time. I learned about pre-selling. I pre-sold some over time. And then I said, I'm just going to throw all this stuff behind a paywall, throw all this stuff in a membership. I'm going to commit to making a new training every month to make it sticky so people have a reason to keep paying me. I'm going to add a community. I'm going to create an opportunity for people to come together. But still, it's going to have my stuff in it. It's going to have kind of my 4 or 5 pieces of core content. And it still does today. My membership today still has 5 specific digital products and courses in it. And I no longer have a community in it because I figured out that I didn't want to get on a community call all the time. I didn't enjoy it. So I got rid of the community. And then I did something crazy, which I'm still doing today, which is I kind of promoted and offer it as unlimited one-on-one mentoring, right? Which is crazy in a membership until I realized that nobody really uses it. So they don't use it. And I do it through Video Ask, and I just have an automated workflow. Somebody wants to ask me a question. They push a button, ask a question, push a button, it comes to me. I push a button, answer it, push a button, it goes to them. And it's very lightly used. But it does give me an opportunity to promote that as a premium kind of get out of jail free card for people to, hey, when you run into a problem, I bill my membership as an insurance policy. You may not need it every day of your career, but the second you do, you know you have this get out of jail free card because like me, I had Army leaders and bosses who didn't take an interest in my career. So they have those too. If you have a great boss, then my product's not for you. But if your boss is not that great, it doesn't take an interest in you, or is too selfish to care about you instead of themselves and their career, then I'm a great option. I'm the next best thing for you. So it's an insurance policy. And when you need me, I'll be there. And then when you need help with faster ways to get the most common things in your life done, which is counseling your soldiers, writing awards for your soldiers, writing evaluation reports on your soldiers, all of these things that I know these NCOs struggle with. And I give them all the tools and resources to fast track that so they don't have to think too much. That plus the get out of jail free card, plus a new piece of content every month, creates the opportunity for me to call it a membership and for them to pay me every month.
Okay, so there's a lot of pre-recorded content and templates and things that they can just access as soon as they're inside the membership. The things that make somebody want to stick around month after month would be, you said, a new piece of content each month, and then this unlimited one-on-one mentorship. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Those are the two things. Everything else is static and doesn't change.
Everything else is static. So it sounds like it's fairly low maintenance. I think people are really intrigued by the idea of memberships because of the recurring payments, but they're scared of it because of potential churn and offering the recurring value to people to get them to want to stick around. So for you, I guess the question is like, are people sticking around? Because you said just now, people are not really using your video ask system of unlimited mentorship.
Yeah, they do stick around. Now, everybody leaves at some point, right? They're going to leave the Army. They're going to outgrow it. Everybody leaves at some point for sure. But I have an 8 to 9 month kind of average life cycle of a member, which is really good. I like it. It's good enough for me. I have a high churn rate. You know, gurus out there will tell you, hey, if you have a churn rate, which is how many people leave your membership every month, if you have a churn rate of like 5, 7, 8% higher, that's not a business. I have a churn rate of about 15%. And I stopped worrying about that stuff. I used to really get nervous about it and things like that. But the way I have it set up is I know people come and I know people go, and I know people stay 8 to 9 months on average. And I know that people get value out of the content and templates and things that I have, and they're there. And I put new ones in on occasion, and then a new piece of content every month. And then I give them the opportunity, doesn't mean they'll take it, the opportunity to get help, support, and feedback when they want it. So that has created the stickiness. It probably has, if you look analytically, created a higher churn rate where I'm getting a 15% churn. So out of 100 people, 15 leave every month. Well, I just need to go find 16 every month to keep growing. And I have about 200 members right now. And I typically stay at or a little above churn every month with new members coming in. And like we talked about earlier, what kind of lifestyle do you want? Do I want? For me right now, I'm happy with that. And it creates, and I'll dispel a myth out there. Memberships are not passive, but they can be highly passive depending on how you structure them, right? If you have a content focused membership and you don't focus on the community, but your content is of a nature that you're adding some content on a regular basis that is creating new value. Maybe that's once a month, or for me, it could be a couple of new templates a month. It could be a new piece of training a month. It still can be valuable for people to pay you every month. It doesn't mean you need to hop on a call every week. It doesn't mean that you've got to create a bunch of busy work for yourself. It just means you add value and you price it at a point. Mine's $39 a month. It's not like I'm charging people $500 a month to be in this membership. I charge them $39 a month. And for that price, for those tools and that opportunity to get help when they might need it most, it's a good value. And it's kind of a no-brainer. Why would they cancel it? Now they do, but enough of them don't. And that's the thing for me, is it creates, I can do my membership in 2 to 3 hours a week, total time managing it. And it's really a low maintenance type of business because I've set it up that way. A lot of people go set up their programs to create activity and a busyness. I just have not done that. And you have the choice to make when you set your membership up, whoever wants to do that, to set it up in a way that serves you versus you trying to create a bunch of busy work.
I'm glad you said that. A lot of people think that with the recurring model, the membership model, we have to have live Q&As every week, maybe multiple live Q&As every week. We have to offer one-on-one calls. We have to offer a lot of support. And at the end of the day, there are hundreds of things that we could potentially include within an offer. And I think as the creator of it, it's up to you to figure out what's going to work for you the best first. Because if you're not selecting things to include in your offer that you're very willing to fulfill on, then you're not able to show up the best way you possibly can, right? If you're doing a live Q&A or one-on-one calls and you don't really want to, but you feel like you kind of have to, then you're probably not showing up as well as you could or should be for the people that you're mentoring or training. And so I love that you set it up in a way that's working for you. But I'm curious why people aren't cashing in that unlimited mentoring.
Again, I position it in a way that, hey, when you have a struggle or a problem, and if you can't get help from the people around you and your boss, then ask me a question. Now, people do use it. I'm not saying they don't use it, but they don't use it. They don't use it at a level that has become a problem for me, right? I probably do 2 or 3 per week. That's it. And the great thing about, because I'm an automation guy, I think like you, I like passive. I know you like passive. We like to set things up, spend a lot of time up front, get that leverage, a lot of time up front setting up systems and automation to be able to live a much smoother life for the long haul. So with Video Ask, setting up the funnel where it's like it's right embedded into Kajabi in a lesson with the code, and I get the notification on my phone. I'm literally sitting in traffic at a stoplight, and I'm literally answering the question in 30 seconds and literally hitting the button and sending it back to them. So the friction, I've created a very low friction mechanism for me to give a high level of perceived value. And to me, that's worth it. And clearly to enough of the members, it's worth it because they're still there. I have members today that have been with me since I opened the doors in, I think it was like April 26th of 2021 on this membership. I have members that have been there since day one that have never used that tool. Back then, I was offering more of the community calls and things like that. But as I've pivoted into more of the what lifestyle do I want to create around this membership, people have just continued to stay because I think they see the value and they see the opportunity to get help when they need it. And I think the content is of a nature that it helps them out in their daily life, right? This isn't content that you kind of watch one time and go, oh, that was nice. That was a nice piece of training. These are templates and tools. Like I have one resource there that gives over 1,100 examples of how to write an evaluation report on somebody, giving them that plug and play language that I know as a leader in the Army and in the corporate world, that when you are under the crunch to get something done, it's sure nice to have a crutch and to have some passages and some effective phrases and some proper Army language to be able to plug and play and modify. I call it copy, paste, tweak. Copy, paste, tweak it to fit your situation. And I think that's a very highly used ongoing tool for people. So I think that helps.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of asynchronous communication as well. I try these days. I'm trying to have as few actual meetings on my calendar as possible. Things like a podcast interview, that's kind of hard to do asynchronously, right? We're talking live right now to each other. So this would be an exception to that rule. But in general, when in doubt, I try to lean more toward the asynchronous route. So I love what you've set up with the way you're framing this mentorship. I use Video Ask, not for the application that you're talking about. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this could get some value out of Video Ask, maybe implement it kind of like you have. So you've got it just embedded right inside of your membership, and they know if they need that support. What do? They just record a video, record audio, and then it sends to your inbox to where you can reply to it at any point?
Yeah, it's embedded inside of a lesson, and they have 3 options with Video Ask. They can leave, they can do, I prefer video. I always respond in video because I want to give that personal touch. But they can do a video, they can do audio, they can do text. They can type it in, talk it out, or show their face. However they want, doesn't matter to me. And they simply go in, push the button. on their phone, or if they're on their desktop, whatever, say what they're going to say, ask what they're going to ask. And then through, as you know, with Video Ask, you set up the workflow, and now it gives me a notification on my phone. It says, hey, you have a new message. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I click the banner, it goes right in there, pops up the message. I hit play, or I read it, or I listen to it. And it's like, hey, I was looking at the templates, and did you have one on this? I didn't see one. And a lot of times they're just questions like that. And I'm like, yep, absolutely. It's there. It's called this, and go look here. Or no, I don't have one on that. Great idea. I think I'll create one, and I'll put it in there here in the next, few days. And, so I'll do that as well. So that's how I use it. And it's so low friction, but in turn has such high perceived value, because they get to ask me a question in real time. And although I tell them 24-hour response during the week, right? I don't make any commitments on the weekends. And I always state it's up to a 24-hour response time during the week. But I almost without fail, weekends and anything, because it's so easy, I'll respond literally in 1 or 2 minutes of getting the thing. So I think that creates some value too. And then to another thing that you do that I do is Bonjoro, that every time I get a new member, every time I get a new customer, whether it's for a digital product, a course, or a member, I get the notification in Bonjoro, just the way that the workflow is set up. And I say, hey, Stephen here. I appreciate you joining the membership. If I could do anything for you, just please reach out and let me know. There's a Video Ask. There's this lesson in there. You can go get this. Make sure you watch the welcome video. I give them probably a 45-second kind of welcome. And although my churn is fairly high, I think I'm completely fine with it, because I think it all serves, when you add all this up, the way that I deliver and fulfill the membership to the members, the way that I look at the churn and my current membership level and the price I'm paying, I'm completely content and happy with the way it's going.
Obviously, I love Bonjoro as well. That's pretty much how I use it too. Just one more thing about this Video Ask thing. Even if somebody just has a standard course, I'm a big fan of having like the comment section under each lesson turned on, because I like to make money from selling the course, but I also like for people to get the result too. And anything we can do that doesn't take too much of our time, that helps people move along, get the support. When they hit a roadblock, maybe get the additional support they need. And this sounds like maybe a next level thing that somebody could be doing, even just for a normal course. Maybe instead of, or in addition to, a just text comment section below a lesson, we could have that like below every lesson potentially. Hey, did you have a question about this lesson? Send us a video, send us an audio snippet. Really, really seamless and easy. And with your, anecdotal evidence, maybe people aren't going to use it a whole lot, maybe. And I think there are a lot of fears out there with implementing something like that, because they're like, oh my gosh, that's going to give me so much more work, right? People are going to use, they're like, oh, I have 50 people sign up every month. And so, 50 people are going to be messaging me every single day. And that's from my experience as well. That's just not the case. It's really nice. People think it's really nice to see that you're doing that, and maybe every once in a while they'll use it. But I've never seen a case where somebody offered something like that and it was abused, and it just became too much work. And you know what? If it does become too much work, then maybe that's time to outsource that, and you can have a support person answer those questions so you can continue to help people out.
Yeah, I leave my comments on too on all of my lessons inside of Kajabi, and people use them. I mean, they'll put stuff in there. Hey, this was great. This is really helpful. And I use some of those as testimonials as well. But the thing is, and you're right. So Video Ask and using it the way I use it is kind of like a refund myth. It's like, I'm worried about offering a guarantee because I'm going to get all these refunds. I get so few refunds. It's almost non-existent. Right. Once in a while, I'll get a refund request because somebody canceled and they were charged or some little snafu. I was like, yeah, no problem. No big deal. But I rarely ever get a refund request, and I offer 30-day money back guarantee. I kind of do the standard stuff. No one asks for a refund. No one overuses the video ask. And I always tell people, if they did, I'd probably stop offering that and I would offer something else in place of it. But I think the trade-off for me is just such a high perceived value and a really great thing that I could say during marketing is like, hey, where else are you going to get unlimited one-on-one mentorship and feedback? Or if you just have a question, or if maybe you just don't trust somebody around you, or maybe you think you're getting bad information, run it by me. I don't have a dog in that fight, right? I was an Army guy. I was an Army NCO. I was an Army officer. I was a corporate executive. So I don't have every answer in the world, but I know a lot about leadership and I know a lot about the Army, and I could probably at least give you some good, sound guidance and some feedback to make you think about it maybe a little bit differently. And that's the way I promote it. And that's the way I talk about it. And it is so easy. I'm literally on the 100-minute a month plan. I think I pay $30 a month for Video Ask. It's like the biggest no-brainer in the history of Earth, right? It's $30 a month. I never have used my 100 minutes. I got plenty. I'd go to a lower plan, I think. They have a free plan, but I prefer the paid plan, just I think a few more features. But yeah, it's just such a no-brainer. And I would say if you're trying to figure out a way to connect more with your people that buy your course, the people that enroll into your membership, and you're looking for ways to differentiate and to add real value, do something like that, because there's almost guaranteed people are not going to abuse it, because people don't abuse that stuff. It's like your program, Jock, OCG coaching, which I'm in, which I love. It's not like I'm messaging you every day, asking you 20 questions, right? It's not. Now, could I? I probably could, but I don't. And I just don't think that's the way to go. I know I can get on a call once a week, once every 2 weeks, whatever the rhythm is that you set up, and I can listen in and get all the information and feedback that I want. And that's perfectly good with me. All right. But I knew if I had a problem, if I had a real pressing issue right now, and I'm like, I need help, I don't know what to do, I know I could post something in the forum or in the community, and I'm pretty sure you'd see it. And you, in a reasonable amount of time, you'd respond to me. And that's good enough. That's all I'm looking for.
Well, thanks for that promo for my program. Look, you mentioned Video Ask, you mentioned Bonjoro, you mentioned Kajabi, right? I use all those tools too. I'm curious what other tools you're using and loving. It sounds like our tech stacks are pretty similar these days.
Yeah, and because of you, years ago, I used Deadline Funnel. So when people come into my, they come into my email list with a promotion point calculator, they immediately get a 30-minute tripwire offer to buy a counseling package for like $27, the big discount, just to try to convert a customer. That's a 30-minute Deadline Funnel driven campaign. They immediately go into a 3-day membership campaign at that point. They have 3 days, Deadline Funnel. Emails, I send an email a day. The last day I send 4 emails. I really load them up with, you better get it now. I load them up with that last day of 4 emails, Deadline Funnel driven. And then after that, they go into a 10-day campaign if they haven't bought into a, buy my counseling package. Cause I know that's a product. I've sold over 1,100 of those programs, and I know that that's a product in a little course that could really, really help them. I can get them to buy that over a 10-day. I give them I have 162 examples in my package now that are all updated as of this year. I give them one of those 162 examples, one a day for 10 days as value. And I'm always pushing them back in, buy all of them. And then when they get into there, I retarget them and then try to get them back into the membership that way. So I'm always trying to create a buyer, create a customer, try to find a way to have somebody give me some money to go deeper so I can show them the value of my paid products, so I could then work and get them deeper into my funnel, maybe into some recurring revenue models there. So those are kind of the ways that I use those tools. So Video Ask, I use Descript. I know you're a big proponent of Descript. I love that. That has made my video editing when I have it just super, super simple. Love that. ChatGPT 4.0. I know you use that as well. I use Read.ai. So when I have calls with people, it may not be around NCO stuff specifically, but when I have other calls with people about other things, I use Read.ai, which is a plugin for Zoom. and it's like $25 a month. I'm on the kind of the pro plan, and it records everything to the cloud, which is not a big deal. It creates a highlight video, creates a trailer, it creates all the questions and notes and transcript. It creates all the outcomes and things from the call, action steps, everything. It's just a great thing that I found helpful in certain conversations. So I just have it now in Zoom that every Zoom call I have, it just automatically turns itself on, and I may or may not use it. But that's a big one. And then Kajabi payments. I know that's not really a tool, but it's something I was an early beta tester of, which I really love. I know. Are you using it now, Kajabi payments, or have you switched over?
No, I don't know what I did to the people at Kajabi, but not only do I not have access to it yet, I got an email recently saying, sorry, but like they just kind of rubbed it in, like, sorry, you still don't have access to it. Like I got a personal email just saying like, nah, you don't have access to it yet.
Man.
Yeah, so I'm very excited about using Kajabi.
Yeah, I thought they opened it for everybody.
I mean, at this point, I don't think I have access to it. The reason that I want it most of all is to have additional payment options for people. I know that with Kajabi payments, I can not only can I have Stripe credit card payments and PayPal, which I'm accepting now, but it'll also give me the option for Google Pay and Apple Pay, and they have some more payment options coming down the road. I don't like giving people too many choices in general. Like, let's not put too many offers in front of people, too many choices within the same offer. But when it comes to how they can pay me, I'm a big fan of making that as easy as possible and allowing people to choose their payment method of choice. If we could add Cash App and Venmo and Bitcoin, and like I would turn all of those on if I could.
Yeah, I'm finding a lot of people are really paying a lot through Apple and Google Pay. I see that more and more since that went on with Kajabi payments. With me, I'm finding quite a number of people just like that. Let's double click my button. Let's make this super simple. And I think that just ultimately is going to help conversions. And I have had really good luck with Kajabi payments. I know you know this, but I had some what did they call them? Some card testing that happened in my Kajabi account where I had some fraud and people were buying. I had a $1 trial running at the time, and they kept buying and buying and buying and buying, like hundreds of transactions. And Stripe couldn't help me. I mean, Stripe, they tried to help me, but they wouldn't return quickly the information, things like that. But then I had just got on Kajabi payments, which is just white labeled Stripe, and it even says that. But when that happened, when I was in Kajabi payments, Kajabi was really helpful. They got it resolved. They put some controls in place. So it would increase friction for card testers and things. But that really sold me that I just had this experience with Stripe proper. And now I just had this experience with Kajabi payments, white labeled Stripe internally. And my experiences were so different from each other. I was sold on Kajabi payments at that point. They've been very good to work with. I don't particularly care for PayPal. I use it because I think some people just see the value in it. I use it. I'm not a big fan. So I have turned off Stripe proper and I'm only using Kajabi payments. And the only thing I have Stripe right now is all of these residual memberships that are just going to continue to build through Stripe until that kind of wears out over time. But everything new is Kajabi payments. So that's what I'm doing right now. I love it. And I know I've heard you talk about School as well. I've been checking out School. They just had Sam Ovens just released all of their payment options now in School. So I'm not moving off of Kajabi, but I'm just thinking, is there a way to use School maybe for a free community funnel with some of all of these Facebook people in my group and things, get them maybe into a little bit more of a tight knit community and then pitch them stuff inside of School, kind of maybe some digital products. So I'm just kind of thinking about how to leverage these different tools. I'm an early adopter on some of this stuff, sometimes to my own demise. Right, like AppSumo, like this will nickel and dime you, death by 1,000 offers in AppSumo. It will kill you. And I'm really trying to narrow down my tech stack. And about every quarter I go through and I say, what can I kill and get rid of? I know I'm a Kajabi Pro user. I know I'm a Deadline Funnel guy. I know I use Bonjoro. I know I use Video Ask. And I know I use Descript and ChatGPT 4, but I think I could probably get away with just that and not have to spend, here's $10 a month and $39 a month and $20 a month and everything else. I think I can really make a game out of this and see how low I can keep the expenses, because as we know, profit margins are really high in these types of businesses. And I can literally, with my Kajabi account at $3.99 a month on the Pro plan, I can literally run a $5,000 business or a $500,000 business. It scales perfectly for that, and that's why I'm a big Kajabi fan.
Yeah, that's the $3.99 tier is like their top end tier. I think the bottom end tier is like $150 a month, something like that. $49. But yeah, you don't need anything more than that to run the business. But man, it sure is fun to geek out on some new tools and just play with them to a detriment sometimes.
You're right. I know you're a webinar guy too. So you were a big. What was the webinar platform that you were really impressed with recently?
Oh, eWebinar.
Kind of took
eWebinar. Yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of took a turn on courses, and I know you kind of like, this kind of, I don't know if I want to promote this as hard.
Yeah, so. I'm still using it a little bit, but I have mixed feelings about that one. But, especially when people are getting started, I certainly recommend going as few as possible. And I like what you said about just kind of auditing our tools every so often, because sometimes, we sign up for one here and one there, and then we're paying every month, and we kind of forget about it, not using as much as we expected. And just to kind of reset and cut some of those every now and then is definitely a good thing.
It could get away from you real quick.
You mentioned some numbers here and there. I want to go there next, if you don't mind. Could you share with maybe ballpark numbers of what this is what this is bringing in for you now?
Yeah. So one of the things I said at the beginning was lifestyle. So I want to have this lifestyle. I want to live a life. I could probably grow faster and grow bigger. I just choose to really protect my time. So I'm a real big revenue stream guy. I believe in stacking revenue. When I worked a corporate job, I had one paycheck from one employer that was always at risk. It's great when it's great, but when it goes away, it's you go binary. You're either doing really bad. It's kind of like Zig Ziglar said, if you either have 1 foot in hot boiling water and 1 foot in ice cold water, on average, you're not warm, right? You have two very unique experiences with each foot there. So I believe in income streams. So right now, my total revenue for my typical month is between $17,000 and $25,000. That's what I'm making a month. My high this year, I think it's been about 24, and I'm typically, I think this last month, I'm going to be around 19 or 20. I get about $7,000 a month recurring from the membership. I have about 200 people. My average price point in there is probably $35 because I have people in there from 20 to 60 and all prices in between as I've tested. I do about $5,000 a month in just one-off digital products on top of that I sell through the funnel, or I do promotions or post offers in the Facebook group or send an email promotion or something like that people are in the membership. I also have a partnership with a little software as a service company that I get about $5,000 a month, 100% passive residuals that I invested in. So that's a great thing. I'm a big passive income guy. I get about $1,500 a month from passive ad revenue from Mediavine and Monumetric for my 2 WordPress sites. And I get a little bit of affiliate revenue from probably $400 or $500 from Kajabi with different people that have signed up with one of my links. And I do a little bit of online business coaching, for different people, not much, probably a couple grand a month there that I'm doing, just as probably 10 hours a month, 15 hours a month in total that I do, because I love to help people start their businesses. So it's just something I like to keep sharp in and get reps on. So all of that added up gives me kind of that $17,000 to $25,000 a month. And I'm perfectly content. My goal is to get to 50, but my goal is to not get to 50 and give away 50 hours a week and trade for that. That's not my goal. My goal is to get to 50 and still have my days, my evenings, my weekends, my walks, my naps, the things that I really enjoy out of life. I've lost a lot of weight. I've gotten so much healthier. I have much more energy, and I am not willing to trade the benefits of what's happened in my life for multiples of thousands unless there's a reason I need to have it. And right now, I'm very happy where I'm at. I do want to get to 50 grand. I think that'll be a super nice lifestyle to give me a lot of flexibility and options. And I think I can definitely get there in the next maybe 2 to 3 years. I just have to be a little more intentional, a little bit more focused on scale, thinking about protecting my time. But I now have a lot of assets that I didn't have just a couple of years ago, which is knowledge and understanding of how to do these things differently with funnels and automations and things. So I'm just getting better and better. And that's why I hang out with guys like you, Jock, because I'm just picking up things. This is what I do. I hang out with guys like you. I get smarter. I'm a big Graham Cochran fan. I know you are as well, because he lives a lifestyle that I'm really paying attention to. And I love that lifestyle that he lives. I love the way you approach passive income and approach protecting your time and asynchronous and things like that. So I hang out with people and invest in myself, invest in the programs with people that are living the type of lifestyle, doing the things that I want to do more of.
Yeah, you mentioned starting to do a little bit of business coaching yourself. You obviously like to geek out on the business side of things, and so I would love for you to share with the audience kind of the Steven approved method of going about this whole thing. You know, earlier I talked about there could be people listening to this that they're in that corporate job, and maybe they don't even know, you know, what direction they could go. They just know they want to go in another direction. So what are the like Steven approved steps? What is your recommended path to get to kind of a place where you are now?
Yeah, a couple things. In the beginning, when you're thinking about pivoting, when you're thinking about making a change in your life, what you do today may not be what you do tomorrow. What I'm doing today is not what I did 2 years ago. So don't short-side yourself and trying to be perfect out of the gate. Know that you're trying to create a pivot in your life. You're trying to create maybe a different way of living, a way that you could be full-time self-employed. So lean into the things maybe in the beginning that you're just really good at doing. I'm not super passionate about the Army, right? I like it. It's good. I like helping people, but it's not something I wake up every day going, man, I get to work on Army stuff today, right? This is why I've set it up in kind of a passive way as much as I can. But I knew in the beginning that was something I was really good at. I had a background in and I could lean into, and I felt confident and comfortable in. So always ask yourself this question: what do you know that nobody knows you know? What do you know that nobody knows you know? And if you have a skill, maybe you're an Excel guru, maybe you're really good at Army stuff, at getting promoted faster, maybe you're good at training dogs, maybe you just have these skills that ultimately you won't be long-term building your life and business around, but it could be the thing that today, tomorrow, and maybe for the next year or two gets you through the pivot. It allows you to create some independence and some self-employment and kind of the beginnings of the lifestyle you want, and lean into the things that are going to help get you there today. And then you can always change. You're never stuck with what you're doing today forever, right? You never are. So I think when I look back on that, that's what I began to learn faster. It's like, okay, what do I know it's going to help me get out of this situation faster? And I leaned into that, created something around it, and then began to pivot. As you said, I enjoy now, having gone through these experiences, helping people start and grow online businesses. A lot like you, I'm still learning. I'm investing in myself in programs and coaching and things. I'm a work in progress like everybody. And the thing that I can do is help people that don't know what I know yet and help them get started and help them navigate these things maybe without as many mistakes. So lean into what you know in the beginning, have that be the first thing, but it's not necessarily the only or the last thing that you'll ever do.
Very, very good stuff, Steven. Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing all of that. Lots of great golden nuggets here. Last thing is just any calls to action, any pitches, feel free. I mean, share if you want to share your link to where you do the business coaching. I don't know if there's many NCOs listening to this. If there are, please reach out and let us know. You never know. So make sure you share that URL one more time and the business coaching and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, if you're an NCO, if you're in the Army and you just, or you know what, you may know somebody in the Army and you may know somebody who's struggling, just have them reach out to me. Go to ncoonfire.com. Just hit the contact button. Just reach out to me. I just love to talk to NCOs and to help them. You don't have to buy any of my stuff, but I just geek out. And because people don't always reach out and talk to me, I'm always willing to talk to people who are needing help. And then on the online business side, onlineincome.coach, onlineincome.coach. You can see what I'm doing there if you're interested. And I'm going to place a plug for my wife, if you don't mind. Because you've taught me about the power of course creation, and my wife has just started a brand new course, and Kajabi, I built it out. It's looking good too. It's about mystery shopping. Okay. So her website is learnmysteryshopping.com. Learn mystery. If you want to be a mystery shopper, if you want to make more money on the site, because my wife has a lot of friends that are just trying to make an extra $500 or $1,000 a month. This is what she does. She does it. She loves it. She enjoys it. Now she's teaching people how to do it. She built a course. I've loaded that up for her. So I'm going to a shameless plug, Jacques. So I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. And that goes back to your lessons. Like I can imagine that the conversations with your wife, you're sitting on the couch, after a long day, it's like, let's think about what you could teach in an online course. And you probably helped her work through that and figure out what she was good at and helped her set up this new business.
Yeah, man. I love it. And I just love building income streams. I love stacking Legos. And if you stack enough Legos, man, you're going to end up with a beautiful kind of Star Wars like thing here before too long. You just got to stack the Legos, man, and have fun while you're doing it. Live the life you want to live. Don't stress out. Get help. Invest in yourself. And you're not alone out there. And we all try to figure it out. We all just try to get better every day.
By the way, the Army football team is coming to my town here in a couple of months. They're playing at LSU. I've got the LSU helmet behind me. We go to most of the games. So if you want an excuse to go to an LSU football game, Army is coming to town. You should come check it out.
I think Army might be in trouble.
I think so.
That's my guess.
I think so.
I think Army might be good against Navy, but you start putting Army against like SEC schools, it's kind of game over. So I've had a feel.
It's still fun to watch. All right, Stephen, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much.
All right, buddy. Take care. Thanks.
So that's a wrap on that conversation with Stephen. Thank you to him for joining me on the episode. I know he's been listening to the podcast for a while. And so, I want to thank him for that. And thank you out there for listening as well. I've been wanting to have Stephen on because he's found some pretty cool success in his niche. And I hope that you found that information, that story really valuable. It's an honor to have him in my coaching program. He's one of those guys that he gives as much value as he, tries to pull out of it. So it's just an honor to have him as part of it. If you want to get more information about the coaching programs that I do offer, just head to theonlinecourseguy.com and then click on coaching right at the top and you'll see the programs that I have to offer. If you want to find the show notes from this episode, this is primarily an audio episode. So if you're listening in your car, you're going for a walk and you can't immediately go to some of the URLs that we mentioned here, that's what the show notes are for. So you can refer back to later in an easy way, hopefully, when you want to and can. So to find that, just head to oc.show, right? That's kind of short for the online course show, oc.show/208. This is episode 208, and you'll find the show notes there. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Online Course Show. I appreciate you being here, and I am rooting for you in your success. See you next time.